Finally, I'm back. I just hope my family passes this test.
I can't wait for Kunle to get here. I know he's going to buy me lots of beautiful gifts from London.
He will?
Yes, he will.
Kunle, Mama, it can't be you.
After all this time.
Isn't that Kunle from London? Why does he look like this?
Didn't they say he became rich?
Kunle, what did you go and do in that abroad? After 10 years, is this how you came back? So you wasted 10 years for nothing.
After 10 years in London, Kunle came back to Nigeria looking like a man who had lost everything. His own family mocked him, called him a failure, and even tried to steal what they thought was left. But they had no idea the broke man sitting in their compound was secretly a millionaire, and every insult they threw at him was part of a test that would expose the true faces of the people he loved most. He pretended to be broke after London, but his family hated him. Kunle had been away from home for many years. When he first left Nigeria for London, he was full of hope. He was a young man with dreams in his chest and fire in his eyes. He told everyone in the village that he was going to make it. He said he would work hard, send money home, and come back one day as a big man. Some people believed him. Some laughed. Some said London was not for everybody. His mother, Mama Bisi, cried the day he left. She held his hand and said, "My son, remember where you come from." Kunle smiled and answered, "I will, Mama. I will not forget you." He meant it, and for many years he kept that promise. Life in London was not easy at first. Kunle worked in a warehouse. He cleaned floors, he carried boxes, he took night shifts that made his body ache. He ate cheap food and shared a small room with other struggling Nigerians. Some days he was lonely. Some nights he looked at the cold city through the window and wondered if the sacrifice was worth it. But he kept going. He was not the kind of man who gave up easily. Slowly, things began to change. He got better work. He learned the system. He saved money. He began to do small business on the side. Soon, Kunle was not just surviving in London, he was building a life. But while he was building that life, his family back home was enjoying the fruit of his sweat. Whenever Mama Bisi needed money, Kunle sent it. When his younger brother Tunde needed school fees, Kunle paid. When his sister Ngozi wanted to start a small shop, Kunle sent money. When his uncle said the roof needed repair, Kunle contributed. When there was an emergency in the family, they all called him, and Kunle never said no. He wanted to be the man who lifted everybody. At first, the family appreciated him. They prayed for him, they praised him. They told people in the village, "Kunle is taking care of us from London." But little by little, something changed. The more he helped, the less they respected him. His money became expected, his sacrifices became normal, and his name began to be used like a wallet. If he delayed money for even 2 days, the calls started. If he sent less than usual, they complained. If he said he had problems, they said he was becoming proud. One day, he called home to speak with his mother, and his cousin Emmanuel answered the phone. "Hello? Emmanuel, give the phone to Mama," Kunle said. Emmanuel laughed. "Oh, our London man. Don't worry, she's around. But Kunle, you people in London are really enjoying life, Abi? That is why you have started delaying money." Kunle frowned. "I am not delaying money. I have my own issues too." Emmanuel clicked his tongue. "Issues? After all the money you people make there? Please." Kunle said nothing. That was just the beginning. As the years passed, the disrespect got worse. His brother Tunde started acting entitled. His sister Ngozi began speaking to him as if he owed her the world. Even his mother, who once spoke to him with humility, started making demands with confidence. Kunle sent money for the family compound to be fixed. They used part of it to buy new clothes. He sent money for his mother's hospital visit. They used part of it to settle other things. He sent money for Tunde's business. Tunde used it carelessly and still blamed Kunle when it failed. Every time Kunle tried to ask questions, they made him feel bad.
You are the one in London, they would say. You should not be talking like this. You do not understand what we are going through here. You think money grows on trees in London. At some point, Kunle started feeling like a stranger in his own family. The same people he had suffered for were now treating him like an ATM. And what hurt him most was that they no longer asked about him as a person. Nobody asked if he was okay. Nobody asked if he was tired. Nobody asked if he was lonely. They only asked when money was coming. The first time Kunle started thinking of a plan, it was after a painful call with his younger sister. Ngozi had called him about her wedding. She wanted money for her dress, the hall, the food, the decoration, the pictures, the chairs, and even a special cake. Kunle asked, Ngozi, do you even know how much I have been sending? She answered, but you are in London. Kunle almost laughed from the pain. That means I should suffer forever because I am in London? She became silent for a moment, then said, I did not say that, but her voice had already said enough. After that call, Kunle sat alone in his apartment for a long time. He looked around the room. It was not a palace. It was a decent life, but it had been built through sacrifice. He had no wife. He had no children. He had not bought himself many things. He had kept back so much of his own life just to keep his family alive. And yet, they treated him like a machine. That was the day the idea came. He would go home, but not as the successful London man they expected. He would go home pretending that he had been deported. He would tell them he had lost everything. He wanted to see their true hearts. He wanted to know who loved him for real and who loved only his money. He wanted the truth. So Kunle made the decision. He reduced his spending slowly. He stopped sending money the way he used to. He allowed the family to complain. When they asked why things were changing, he told them he had some problems. That answer was not enough for them. Soon, the calls became louder. His mother wanted explanations. His brother became rude. His sister started sounding annoyed. Then one day, Kunle told them he was coming home. The family was excited. Everyone started talking. Kunle is coming back from London. The rich man is returning. He will bring gifts. He will surprise us. Nobody knew he was planning a very different kind of return. Kunle did not arrive in style. He did not come with a convoy. He did not come with expensive boxes. He did not wear his best suit. He dressed simply. He packed only one old suitcase. He took a regular flight. And when he landed, he looked like a man carrying heavy pain inside him. At the airport, he stood for a long time before making a call. Then he phoned home. Mama Bisi answered quickly. My son! He forced his voice to sound weak. Mama! She paused. Kunle, what is wrong? He swallowed. I need to tell you something. The woman's voice became tense. What happened? He said, I have been deported. There was silence. At first, she did not understand. Then she shouted, What did you say? Kunle repeated it slowly. I was deported. I am back home now. For a long moment, Mama Bisi said nothing. Then she began crying. Kunle kept his eyes fixed on the airport floor. He was not sure if his plan would work. He was not sure if he was doing the right thing, but he had gone too far to turn back. When he arrived home, the whole compound was waiting. His mother came out first with her wrapper tied tightly around her waist. His sister followed. Tunde came last, looking confused and worried. A few neighbors were already peeking from their windows. Kunle entered the compound with his head down, carrying the small suitcase. No one clapped, no one smiled. The joy he had imagined was not there. His mother rushed to him and held his face. My son, what happened? What happened to you? Kunle lowered his voice. It was bad, Mama. They sent me back. Ngozi covered her mouth. Tunde frowned. Mama Bisi started crying harder. But then Kunle noticed something strange. The crying did not last long. Very quickly the questions began. Do they give deported people money? Tunde asked. Kunle looked at him. His brother continued. You know now, maybe they still gave you some settlement. Mama Bisi wiped her face. My son, you will manage, right? You still have savings. Kunle stared at all of them in silence. That was the first crack. He had barely even entered the house, and already the concern was turning into financial questions. No one asked how he was feeling. No one asked if he ate. No one asked if he was humiliated. They only wanted to know what was left. Kunle gave a small, tired smile and said, "I am starting again." The room went quiet. Starting again was not the answer they wanted. His mother's face changed. Ngozi's shoulders dropped. Tunde looked disappointed. Over the next few days, the true shape of the family began to show. At first, they pretended to care. Mama Bisi cooked for him. Ngozi cleaned the room where he was sleeping. Tunde helped carry his suitcase. But behind that temporary kindness was disappointment. They had expected a man with money and power. They got a man who said he was starting over, and that was not enough for them. It began with small comments. One evening, Tunde sat outside with some friends and said loudly enough for Kunle to hear, "London has done nothing for some people." The friends laughed. Another day, Ngozi said if he had remained there properly, maybe he would have come with something useful. Mama Bisi, though softer, was also changing. She kept asking if he had any hidden money. "Just tell me the truth, my son. Is there anything you kept aside?" Kunle would shake his head. She would sigh and walk away. Then the real insult came from an unexpected place. His uncle, Uncle Okolo, came to visit. He was one of those men who always had opinions about other people's lives. As soon as he entered, he looked Kunle up and down and said, "So, this is the great London man." Kunle forced a smile. "Good afternoon, Uncle." Uncle Okoro did not answer the greeting properly. He sat down and began talking with his chin high. "I told your mother from the beginning that people should not depend too much on foreign sons. See now, all the time in London and nothing to show for it." Kunle's jaw tightened. If you are enjoying this story, please subscribe for more. Mama Bisi tried to defend him. It was not his fault. Uncle Okoro waved his hand. Fault or no fault, the shame is there. Kunle remained quiet, but inside him something was breaking. As the days passed, the family's attitude became more and more obvious. Their respect for him was tied to his success. Without money, he was not special. Without gifts, he was not valuable. Without power, he was just another man sitting in the compound. But Kunle kept watching. He watched how they reacted. He watched who cared and who did not. He watched who called him brother and who called him brethren. Then he noticed something that made his heart sink. His family had already started making plans without him. Tunde had been speaking to people about selling part of the family land. Ngozi was telling neighbors that Kunle had failed abroad. Uncle Okoro was advising Mama Bisi to move on from her London hope. And the cruelest part was that they were already discussing what they could take from what remained of Kunle's supposed life. Kunle heard everything. He heard his name used with pity. He heard it used with mockery. He heard people say, "At least he came back alive." He heard others say, "No use now." That night, he sat alone and made a decision. He had seen enough. Now he wanted to know the final truth. So he stayed quiet and watched longer. One evening, while the family was eating, he asked casually, "Have you all been all right with the money I sent before I came home?" That question changed the mood immediately. Tunde looked at him carefully. "What kind of question is that?" Kunle said, "Just asking." Ngozi replied, "Why are you asking now?" Mama Bisi said softly, "My son, let us not open old matters." But Kunle was already seeing the cracks widen. "Did all the money go where it was supposed to go?" he asked. Tunde laughed nervously. "Are you suspecting us?" Kunle did not answer. Uncle Okoro, who had been visiting often, leaned forward and said, "This is what happens when people come back empty. They start counting money they already spent." The room was silent. Kunle looked at each of them carefully. He knew then that something was wrong, very wrong. What he did not know yet was how deep it went. The next day, he took a walk around the neighborhood. He went to the old shop where his family used to collect things on credit. The owner saw him and quickly came out with his strange look. "Kunle, welcome." Kunle smiled politely. "Good to see you." The shop owner lowered his voice. "I heard what happened." Kunle nodded slowly. Then the man said something unexpected. "Your brother and uncle have been here asking about your money before you returned." Kunle paused. "What money?"
The shop owner frowned. They said you had a small investment account and some savings with family help. They wanted to know if they could access it while you were away. Kunle's face went still. The shop owner continued. I did not tell them anything, but they seemed very interested. Kunle thanked him and left, his heart pounding. Now he understood why they had been so eager to know what he had left behind. They were not just worried, they were hunting. That evening, he checked his old documents, and what he found shocked him. Some papers had been moved, a few bank details were missing, a local account he had not touched in years had been accessed. The name on the paper was not his alone, his brother Tunde's signature had been added. Kunle stared at it in disbelief. Then everything began to connect. They had not just insulted him, they had been waiting to see what they could take. His family had been benefiting from him all these years, and now that he seemed weak, they wanted to finish him off. Kunle sat on the bed and laughed bitterly, not because it was funny, because it was painful, very painful. For the first time in many years, he cried, not loudly, not with drama, just quiet tears from a man who had realized he had loved the wrong people too much. The next morning, he did something strange. He went to see a friend in town, a lawyer friend. Kunle explained everything quietly. He showed him the documents. He asked him to help verify the account transfers and any misuse of his name. Then he asked the friend to keep everything secret for now. The friend agreed. Kunle was not ready to confront them yet. He wanted to wait until the truth was complete. And the truth came faster than expected. One afternoon, he overheard Omozi talking on the phone. She was in the corridor, unaware that he was nearby. I told you, the London story is over. He came like a beggar. There is nothing left. Kunle stood frozen. Then she continued, No, he will not ask questions. He is too ashamed. Then she lowered her voice, but it was too late. I just need Uncle Okoro to finish the land matter. Kunle's eyes widened. So that was it. They were not just disrespecting him, they were actively planning to steal from what he had built. He turned away quietly and walked back into the house as if nothing had happened. But now the game had changed. The broke, deported man they were laughing at was not as helpless as they believed. Kunle waited one more week. During that week, he let the family continue. He let Tunde brag, he let Ngozi make her calls, he let Uncle Okoro visit and talk too much. He let Mama Bisi keep hoping he would somehow bring out a miracle from his suitcase. Then one Saturday morning, he called the family to sit in the compound. There was a seriousness in his voice they had not heard before. Everybody gathered. Tunde came first, Ngozi followed. Mama Bisi sat on a stool. Uncle Okoro, of course, was there too.
Kunle stood in the middle of them with his simple clothes and tired face. He looked like the same failed man they had been mocking. But his eyes were different now. He cleared his throat. I called you all here because I have something to say. Tunde crossed his arms. We are listening. Kunle nodded. Good. Then listen well. He reached into his bag and brought out a brown envelope. Nobody understood what it was at first. He opened it slowly and placed the documents on a small table. Then he said, For years, I sent money here. I supported this house. I paid school fees, hospital bills, repairs, business capital, and family needs. Mama Bisi lowered her eyes. Kunle continued, I did all these things because I loved you. There was silence. Then he turned to Tunde. You signed my account without permission. Tunde's eyes widened. What are you saying? Kunle looked at him steadily. Do not lie. The papers are here. Ngozi's face changed. Uncle Okoro leaned forward. Kunle pointed at the documents. I know everything now. The account, the withdrawals, the land plans, the lies. Mama Bisi looked confused. My son, what is this? Kunle's voice was calm, but it was firm. It means the broke man you all have been mocking is not as empty as you think. The air changed immediately. Tunde tried to laugh. What are you talking about? Kunle looked directly at him and said, I was never deported. Everybody froze. Mama Bisi blinked. What? Kunle took a deep breath. I came home in that state on purpose. I wanted to know who truly loved me. Nobody spoke. He continued, I wanted to see whether my family cared about me or only about the money I sent.
The compound became silent. Then he said the final part. I already knew there was enough money, business income, and savings to keep me safe. I also knew who had been stealing and planning behind my back. Uncle Okoro's mouth fell open. Tunde stepped back. Ngozi covered her face. Mama Bisi looked from one person to the other, shocked beyond words. Kunle picked up one paper and said, "This is the proof." Tunde shook his head. No, you must be joking." Kunle said, "I am not." Then he looked at all of them and spoke with pain and disappointment. "I gave you all my youth. I gave you my sacrifice. I gave you my sleep, my health, my peace. And when I returned pretending to be weak, you showed me your hearts." Mama Bisi began to cry. "My son, please." Kunle raised his hand. "No, Mama, let me finish." He looked at her gently. "You still loved me in your own way, but even you were quick to think of what I had left instead of who I was." That broke her completely. Then he looked at Tunde. "You stole from me." Tunde tried to defend himself. "I only helped with some things." Kunle shook his head. "You helped yourself." Then he turned to Ngozi. "You were ashamed of me before you even knew the truth." Ngozi cried quietly. Finally, he looked at Uncle Okoro. "You came here to eat from my pain." Uncle Okoro tried to speak, but no words came. Kunle gathered the papers back into the envelope. Then he said, "I did not come back to beg. I came back to test love. And now I know where each person stands." The silence that followed was heavy. Mama Bisi knelt down. "Forgive me, my son." Tunde also knelt. Ngozi was crying now, but Kunle did not move. He had reached the point of no return. He said, "I will not destroy this family, but I will not allow you to keep using me again." He turned to the side and pointed to a car parked near the gate. Everybody looked. They had not noticed it before. A lawyer stepped out from it and walked into the compound. That was when they realized the full truth. Kunle had not come home empty. He had come home with a plan, with proof, and with power.
The lawyer introduced himself and explained that several accounts, asset and property matters were now under review. Tunde's face went pale. Uncle Okoro looked like he wanted the ground to open. Ngozi sat down slowly, shocked. Mama Bisi kept crying. Kunle said little after that. The lawyer handled the rest. That same week, the family learned that Kunle had quietly built more than one business abroad. His London life was not fake. His poverty in front of them had been a mask, and now they were facing the consequences of their greed. Some things were recovered. Some relationships were broken beyond repair. Kunle helped his mother, but he kept his distance. He did not trust Tunde again. He stopped giving Uncle Okoro anything. And as for Ngozi, she learned too late that a sibling's success should never be treated with shame. Weeks later, the village began to hear the story. People who had mocked Kunle were now whispering his name with respect. The same man they thought had returned defeated had actually returned to expose the truth about his own family. But Kunle did not care about village talk anymore. He had learned something greater. Not everyone who shares your blood is loyal. Not everyone who praises you loves you. And not every smile at home is a sign of family. Sometimes you have to step back, watch quietly, and let people reveal themselves. That was the lesson Kunle carried. In the end, he did not just find out who hated him, he found out who he had become. And after all the pain, that was the part that changed him forever. Moral of this story: never confuse family with loyalty. Sometimes the people closest to you only respect you when you have something to give. Money can attract relatives, but only hardship reveals family. Never measure love by the gifts people receive from you. The people who stand by you when you have nothing are the ones who truly deserve a place in your life. A quick question, besties. If you were in Kunle's shoes, would you forgive your family or walk away for good?
let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notifications for more powerful stories. Thanks for watching, besties. Bye!